Hey there everyone. So delighted to be here at the end of the first day of JSN Colloquium number 9. I'm joined this afternoon by Jen Lemaster, Assistant Principal of Brebeuf Jesuit. So this afternoon, Jen, we had a really interesting panel discussion on women in Jesuit education. Would you like to share, for those of you who weren't here, would you like to share, Jen, a little bit about what that was like, your thoughts, what stood out for you?
Yeah, no, that's great. I was really impressed with the panel. I was so grateful for their honesty and their humility, their humor that they used, and some really poignant stories that they shared along the way. And it was interesting because I recently read this article by Mary Doyle Roach, who's a professor at Boston College. And she was talking about the church today and sort of how we need to use our imagination broader in how we use language and sort of binary terms to talk about our identities and our relationships and our responsibilities. And as I was listening to them, I was really thinking about how we would be called as Ignatian educators to really open up that imagination and see all of the awe and wonder of creation, but not in these terms of either or, Catholic, non-Catholic, male, female, all of that sort of binary language. So as I was kind of reflecting and thinking about it, and I had just read this article, I heard sort of three themes or three ideas with things. The first being identity, and then relationships came up a lot, and our responsibility to that then. I loved how Samantha started her reflection about a seemingly helpful or trying to be helpful colleague back in her beginning career, and they told her, well, you're as a woman in Jesuit education, you can be either a nurturing figure or fill in the expletive. And that's very binary language. You can be either or. And thankfully, she took that in and went, no, that's really not my identity. I'm much more than these two things. And I know I have found that myself growing up in this world. I'm of a certain age now, and when I was little, I looked at leaders in the church and leaders in my school, and they were all male priests. Well, clearly I'm never going to be male, and I'm not going to be a priest, so there was no room for me then. And I've had these wonderful opportunities, but there was always this part of my identity that was like, I don't belong here because I'm not the definition of what leadership looks like and what this looks like. And so I felt, and as I was listening, I felt really empowered by listening to everybody's stories in this panel and how we need to be aware of our gender, but we can also be aware that we are role models, whether we want to be or being dragged along kicking and screaming. But there's room for all identities in the church. There's room for all identities in this school. And how we can grow at being the loved creation that God created us with, and that first step is accepting ourselves as we were created in all these ways. So I thought that was amazing. I thought then how they pulled that into our relationships with our students. It's one way how we see ourselves, but we're always in this give and take. And I loved, Kristen brought up how relationship for her is this invitation. I invite you in to engage and to be a part of this process, and how people really invited her in. And it really made me think about those places, I or my colleagues, how are we inviting in our students with multiple identities? How are we inviting in our parents, our communities, each other into these things? And it's not a title, and it's not male, female, it's none of these sort of black and white issues or these binary words, but we really are called into relationship, and that just brings all of the awe and wonder back into things. And I loved somebody had mentioned in that relationship and sort of taking the identity piece, we can be nice and rigorous.
Right.
Did you catch that part? And we can be what was somebody else wrote? Oh, we can be bold and caring.
Right.
It's not either or. We can be all of it, and we want our students to be all of it, and in our relationships with all that. And then sort of toward the end, one of the questions guided everyone toward sort of what's our responsibility then, going forward. We figuring out who we are as educators and as role models, and how we articulate that in relationship with other people, but what's our responsibilities? And I loved how Adria kept talking about, we have two things. Our mission is our challenge, and our students are our focus.
Yeah.
So at Brebeuf, part of our mission says that we work with students, and we would say each other, to discover and cultivate their God-given talents as a responsibility and as an act of worship. And so I was listening to all of that, and what is our responsibility moving forward and stuff, and again, it kept coming back to me that our responsibility, our mission is not an either-or thing. It's not this sort of... I'm going to use binary again as an either-or kind of term. We're called to go to the boundaries.
Right.
Well, boundaries now, they're geopolitical, they're internal, they're on the internet. We met years ago. This is the first time we've sat in a room together. Right. You know, where are these boundaries? They're all over the place. Yeah. We're called to walk with the marginalized, and what a beautiful world that is. I mean, it's so broad, and there's so much power in big juicy word like that, you know, and how you define marginalized and how we might reach out and invite in relationship those who are on those boundaries and things, and hearing from other schools that we have it at all the levels. We have it at the one-on-one, we have it in leadership at the school level, we have it at province level, global level with the work that you do, and it's awesome. I mean, it really is amazing. So, you know, we're called here, or we're here on a theme of communities for justice and hope. And I really see that through our identities and through our relationships and our responsibilities, that there's some real power there for us moving forward and creating these communities with dignity and justice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what a wonderful challenge and opportunity to have to be working in this. And I really was struck by, you know, what came out of that panel discussion, particularly when, you know, a couple of the people said, you know, we are role models, whether we realize that or not. Right. So it's something to be aware of in everything we do. And I think it's a great privilege as well.
Oh, very much so. That. And our children need, our students, they're craving it because the world is telling them so many things.
Right.
You know, and where is their foundation? Well, we have this really awesome challenge and gift to give that foundation.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thanks.